In a busy city, where fine dining restaurants line the streets, one particular place stands out. It's known for its elegant decor, dim lighting, and perfectly plated dishes. Customers come here expecting not just food, but an experience. Tonight, the restaurant is lively but not overcrowded. Soft music plays in the background and waiters glide between tables, refilling glasses and taking orders. The sound of gentle conversations and clinking silverware fills the air. Everything seems normal. A couple walks in, smiling as they step through the doors. They are dressed well, he wears a crisp button-up and she wears a stylish dress. They are excited, looking forward to a wonderful evening together. This dinner is special, something they have been anticipating. The hostess at the front looks up as they approach. Her eyes flicker with hesitation for a split second, but then she forces a polite smile. She picks up 2 menus and leads them to a table near the side. They thank her and take their seats, settling in comfortably. As they sit, they notice something. Other guests are receiving immediate attention. Water glasses are filled, menus are handed out, orders are taken swiftly. Yet their table remains untouched. No one comes over. They glance at each other but say nothing. Maybe it's just busy, maybe they need to wait a little longer. But as the minutes pass, their excitement starts to fade. Something feels off. The couple sits patiently, expecting service to come soon. They glance at the menu, talking quietly about what they might order. The restaurant has a great reputation, and they had been looking forward to trying it. They watch as a table nearby gets served. A waiter approaches, smiling, handing out menus and pouring water. Another table gets their drinks. More guests arrive, and they are immediately acknowledged. But at their table, nothing happens. They shift slightly, their expressions changing. The man clears his throat and looks around, trying to catch the attention of a passing waiter. But no one stops. A few more minutes pass. Other guests are placing orders. Dishes are being carried out of the kitchen. But they still sit with empty hands, ignored. The woman exhales, forcing a small smile. Maybe they're just busy, she says, though uncertainty lingers in her voice. The man nods, but he isn't convinced. He watches as a group of 4 walks in. The host greets them warmly and leads them to a table not far away. Almost instantly a waiter appears, offering drinks and menus. The man presses his lips together. "That was fast," he mutters. The woman notices it too. Her smile fades slightly. She looks down at the menu, flipping the page, trying to shake off the uneasy feeling. But the longer they sit there, the clearer it becomes. They are being ignored on purpose. Still they stay quiet. They don't want to assume the worst. Maybe there's an explanation. Maybe someone will come over soon. But deep down, they both know. Something is wrong. Finally, after what feels like forever, a waiter approaches their table. He's middle-aged, with a stiff posture and a blank expression. His uniform is neatly pressed, but his demeanor is cold. Unlike how he greeted other customers with smiles and warmth, he barely acknowledges them. He stops at the edge of the table and exhales sharply, as if this is an inconvenience. He doesn't say hello. He doesn't introduce himself. Instead, he pulls a menu from under his arm and places it on the table carelessly. "There," he mutters, then turns on his heel, walking away before they can even say a word. The couple looks at each other. The woman blinks in disbelief. "That was strange," she whispers. The man leans back in his chair, watching the waiter as he moves across the room. He stops at another table, smiling as he chats with a group of customers. He laughs at a joke, making light conversation. The difference is clear. The couple sits in silence, absorbing the moment. They try to give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he's having a bad night. Maybe he didn't mean to come off as rude. But as time drags on, it becomes harder to ignore. Other tables are getting served. Drinks are being poured. Orders are being taken. The waiter moves back and forth, but he never looks in their direction. The man raises his hand slightly, trying to get his attention. The waiter glances their way for a brief second, but instead of coming over, he turns his back and walks in the opposite direction. It isn't an accident. It's a choice. The couple realizes they are being ignored for a reason. Frustration begins to build. The couple isn't making a scene, but the situation is becoming impossible to ignore. They've been sitting for too long without even a glass of water. When the waiter finally comes back near their table, the man speaks up. "Excuse me," he says, keeping his voice polite. Could we place an order? The waiter stops, barely masking his irritation. He sighs heavily, turning toward them as if they are bothering him. You need a reservation, he says flatly. The couple exchanges a glance. The woman frowns. A reservation? She asks. We didn't see anything about that online. The waiter shrugs. It's policy, he says, crossing his arms. The man gestures toward another table. We just saw a couple walk in a few minutes ago. They got seated without a reservation. The waiter tenses. For a second he looks caught, but then he quickly recovers, shaking his head. They had one, he lies. The woman sits up straighter. Are you sure? She presses. The waiter scoffs. Look, I don't make the rules, he says dismissively. If you don't have a reservation, I can't serve you. His tone is sharp, almost daring them to argue. The couple feels the weight of the moment. They aren't being denied service because of restaurant policy. This is something else. The man clenches his jaw. He wants to say something, to call out the injustice happening right in front of them. But he also knows how these situations often play out. He glances at his wife. She looks tired, disappointed, but not surprised. They have been here before, not in this restaurant, not in this exact moment, but in this experience. They shouldn't have to prove they belong. Yet here they are again. The couple sits in silence for a moment. The weight of the waiter's words hangs in the air. The woman sighs and leans forward. We're not leaving, she says quietly but firmly. Her husband nods. No, we're not. They glance around the restaurant. Other diners have noticed the interaction. Some steal quick glances before looking away. Others pretend not to see. The man raises his hand again. We'd like to speak to the manager. The waiter rolls his eyes. The manager's busy, he says quickly. The woman lifts a brow. That's fine, we'll wait. The waiter's jaw tightens. His fingers drum against the menu in his hand. You can't just sit here all night, he snaps. The man keeps his voice steady. We'd like to be served, like every other customer here. The waiter scoffs. I told you, no reservation, no service. His voice is louder this time, drawing even more attention. A couple at a nearby table exchanges an uncomfortable glance. The woman straightens her shoulders. You didn't ask for a reservation when those other people walked in. The waiter's face flushes slightly. He looks away, shifting on his feet. For a brief second, there's silence. Then, another voice cuts through the moment. Is there a problem here? The couple turns toward the kitchen. A man in a chef's uniform stands just a few feet away, his arms crossed over his chest. His face is calm, but his sharp eyes flick between the couple and the waiter. The waiter stiffens, his face twitches with something close to panic. The chef steps forward, wiping his hands on his apron. He isn't a young man, but he moves with quiet authority. His presence alone shifts the energy in the room. I asked a question, he says again. Is there a problem? The waiter clears his throat. Nothing, he mutters, they just don't have a reservation. The chef's gaze flicks to the couple. Is that so? The woman tilts her head. We saw several people walk in after us. None of them were asked for a reservation. The chef's lips press into a thin line. He exhales slowly, then turns back to the waiter. Do we require reservations tonight? The waiter hesitates, his fingers twitch at his side. Because if we do, I'd like to know why you only enforced it for this table. Silence. The waiter shifts uncomfortably. His mouth opens, then closes. He looks down, unable to hold the chef's stare. The chef nods slowly. His expression darkens, not with anger, but with something deeper. Disappointment. Without another word, he turns to the couple. His voice softens. I'll take care of you myself. The waiter's face burns with humiliation, but he doesn't argue. He knows he's lost. The couple exhales, tension finally easing from their shoulders. For the first time since they sat down, they feel seen. The restaurant is quiet now. Customers pretend not to watch, but their ears are tuned in. The chef stands firm, his hands resting on his hips. He isn't yelling. He doesn't need to. His presence alone demands respect. The waiter swallows hard, his face flushed. It's not a big deal, he mutters under his breath. They can eat, can't they? The chef narrows his eyes. That's not the point. The waiter shifts on his feet. He looks around as if hoping for someone to back him up, but the other staff members stay silent. Even the customers look away. The chef speaks again, his voice calm but firm. This restaurant welcomes everyone. We don't pick and choose who deserves respect. The waiter scoffs. I was just following policy. The chef tilts his head. Then why did you only enforce that policy with them? The waiter opens his mouth but has no answer. The chef exhales, shaking his head. He looks disappointed, not just in the waiter but in the situation itself. He turns back to the couple. I apologize for the treatment you received tonight, it was unacceptable. The man nods slowly, appreciating the chef's words. The woman offers a small, tired smile. Then without another word, the chef pulls out his notepad. What can I get for you? He asks warmly. The tension in the air finally breaks. The woman glances at her husband before turning back to the chef. She smiles. I think we're ready to order. The chef listens carefully as the couple places their order. He writes everything down, nodding as they speak. Unlike the waiter, he makes them feel heard. When they finish, he gives a reassuring nod. I'll make sure it's perfect. He turns and heads straight to the kitchen. The restaurant slowly returns to normal, but something has shifted. The energy has changed. The chef moves with purpose, grabbing ingredients and giving quiet instructions to his team. The kitchen staff watches him closely. They understand what just happened. The waiter, now standing near the bar, keeps his head down. He doesn't speak to anyone. Minutes later, the chef emerges, carrying a tray with 2 beautifully plated dishes. Instead of handing it off to a server, he walks straight to the couple's table himself. He sets the plates down gently. Enjoy your meal, he says with a small smile. The woman looks at her husband, then back at the chef. Thank you. The chef nods once, then walks away, back to his station. He doesn't need to say anything more. The couple picks up their forks. For the first time that night, they finally feel like they belong. The couple takes their first bite. The food is incredible, flavors perfectly balanced, cooked with care. But more than that, the experience has changed. They no longer feel invisible. The restaurant is quieter now. Conversations are softer, and the clinking of silverware seems louder than before. Customers sneak glances at the couple, then quickly look away. Some seem embarrassed, others seem thoughtful. A group near the bar whispers among themselves. One of them shakes their head, while another crosses their arms, uncomfortable with what they just witnessed. The waiter stays at the back of the restaurant, avoiding eye contact with the chef, the couple, and the other customers. He knows what happened won't be forgotten. The chef, back in the kitchen, works as if nothing unusual took place, but his actions spoke louder than words. He didn't need to yell, argue, or make a scene. He let fairness and respect do the talking. The couple eats slowly, savoring the meal. Not just the food, but the moment itself. The man reaches across the table, gently squeezing his wife's hand. She squeezes back. No words are needed. They both understand. This isn't the first time they've faced discrimination. It won't be the last, but tonight, someone stood up for them. And that means something. As the evening moves on, the restaurant gradually returns to normal. Diners continue eating, the waitstaff moves between tables, and the kitchen stays busy. But there's a shift in the atmosphere. People notice things they didn't before. The way staff members greet customers, who gets served first, who gets ignored. Subtle things that were easy to overlook before now seem obvious. The chef doesn't seek attention. He doesn't expect gratitude or applause. He simply does his job, cooking meal after meal with the same dedication. Before leaving, the couple walks up to the open kitchen. The chef looks up, slightly surprised to see them standing there. The man extends a hand. Thank you, he says sincerely. The chef wipes his hands on his apron before shaking it. You're always welcome here. He replies. The woman smiles. We'll be back. The chef nods. I'll be here. With that, the couple turns and walks toward the exit. They step outside, feeling lighter than when they arrived. Inside, the chef returns to his work. The restaurant continues to buzz with movement and sound. And, in a quiet, unspoken way, a lesson lingers in the air. Fairness isn't just about policies, it's about people choosing to do the right thing.